Emotional intelligence and emotional maturity can save your life, literally. There's a reason why the prison and the morgues are full of egos. It's full of people who act on their emotions. A lot of them, they don't know how to control themselves. They just lash out at the first thing that comes to mind. They see red, as a lot of people say nowadays. And I want to give you guys just a couple examples of why emotional intelligence and being mature with your emotions and being aware of your emotions is so crucial, and even how to do that, how to become aware of your emotions, because for me, where I'm at now in life, I'm not an emotional, I don't act on my emotions, okay? I still feel emotions, of course. I know you guys probably thought I was about to say I'm not an emotional person. I feel emotions just like everybody else. Everybody feels emotions. It's just it's how you act on them, because oftentimes we cannot control how we feel, but we can control what we do with how we feel. If you say something that upsets me and I'm thinking, oh my God, that kind of pissed me off, I want to punch you in the face. Well, I can't. That's not the right thing to do. So instead, I'm going to not punch you in the face. I'm going to put my fist down. I'm going to sit there and go, okay, let's talk about it. What's the problem? So although internally you might have me very upset or angered, I'm going to calm down verbally, not show that, and go, okay, let's discuss the issue, okay? I want to give you a little story time in my life back when I was on probation. Let me take you guys back, half a decade ago. When I was on probation, Jason was on probation. And I had to take drug tests every week, twice a week, a lot of times. And one time, after taking multiple drug tests, I went to my PO office and I said, I don't want to go. She said, what do you mean? You have to go to the bathroom. You have to go take a drug test. It's part of your probation. It's what the judge said. I said, yeah, I know, but I don't have to go right now. She said, drink more water. I said, I did. I can't go. I was being a dickhead. I was upset. I was angry because the reason I was on probation was away from drugs. It wasn't due to drugs. And I'm sitting there like, no, I don't want to do it. And I'm getting lippy with it, right? I'm a very argumentative, I'm a very angry kid back when I was younger. And this lady didn't yell at me. She didn't say, you better or else. She said, Jason, you're going to a boot camp on Friday. It wasn't like, hey, you get one more shot or else. No. She just very calmly said, you're going to a boot camp on Friday. And this was on a Wednesday. I didn't know what boot camp was. I'm thinking like, this ain't going to be shit. Like, fuck this. I was like, all right, bet. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I didn't care. Still didn't go to the bathroom, by the way. Friday comes around. Sure as shit, I'm driving to a fucking boot camp in a bus. And I remember when I got there, for those of you guys who have seen boot camp videos on, Facebook or YouTube, it's pretty much just like what I was at. Although I wasn't going to the army, it was a pretty good depiction of what it was. I mean, off the bus, you're getting yelled at by these drill instructors. Yelled at, instant PT. It's not like, oh, set your stuff up, get nice and comfortable. No. It was right away. You're getting after it. Dropped our shit off. We're running. We're doing PT, physical training, okay? Push-ups, jumping jacks, burpees, sit-ups, the whole fucking 9 yards. And I thought like, wow, this is going to be what I'm doing the whole weekend. No, that was just getting your heart rate up. That was just preparing you, man. I mean, what we were doing in that boot camp was like what David Goggins was doing before David Goggins was on the internet. I'm not trolling. We were crawling through mud and water, hooked arms in this lake, cold water, kind of waves kind of drafting in and out. Cold, just like you see in the SEALs, bro. I mean, obviously on a less extreme level, but we're sitting in this water, arms hooked to each other, just sitting in cold water up to our neck. Carrying logs, man. Literally carrying fucking logs on our shoulders, counting them. 1, 2, pushing, doing press-ups. And as I'm going through this camp, the first day, second day, I'm pissed. I am so pissed. I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to show this PO. I'm going to fucking hit her. I don't know what I was thinking. I was so pissed. I'm like, I'm going to give this bitch a call. I'm calling her names in my head. I'm not showing it, but internally I'm like, I am so pissed off right now. And as I'm going through this boot camp, and I'm doing more PT, and I'm seeing the punishments that these other kids are getting. I'm getting punished for being here, right? This is my punishment for not taking the drug test. But then everybody else that's in there with me, all these other kids that are around my age, I'm seeing them get punished for mouthing off to the drill sergeants or saying no or doing something that they should not be doing. I'm seeing them getting punished. I'm seeing them get dirt put in their pockets. I'm seeing them have to go sit in the water extra long. I'm seeing them have to stand while we all get to lay down and go to sleep. Yeah, they have to stand. I've seen these punishments that these kids are getting, and I was like, okay, so if I just shut my fucking mouth and I don't act out of line and I don't lip off and I just do exactly what I'm told, I will get out of here in a couple of days. It was like a 4-day thing, and I will be fine. And that taught me, as I'm going through this and I'm seeing more and more of these kids getting punished, right? One of these kids had to wear a weighted vest the whole time. The whole time while he slept, while he ate, while he did all the PT, a weighted vest, like a 20 or 30 pound vest. And I'm like, okay, it showed me that everything I do is going to have repercussions for it. Every negative thing I do, every time I act on my anger, I'm going to have repercussions. I'm going to have to face consequences for this. And that showed me as I was going through this camp more and more. At first, I was so angry and I was so bitter. I said, God, I was fuming, man. I was so pissed off. But as I'm going through this camp more, I start to realize, had I have just shut the fuck up and not been a dickhead and not been that little shit kid and just said, okay, give me the cup, let me go piss in a fucking cup. That's all I had to do. Just piss in a fucking cup. I wouldn't be here. And every time I was going through this, every time I was cold and it was 2 a.m. and we hadn't slept yet, and then I wake up at 5 a.m. off of 3 hours of sleep and we're dog tired and it's cold outside because it's the middle of March and it's snowing and I'm just going through pain and I'm hurting and I'm cold. And I just kept thinking to myself, had I have just not done that, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be here. And that ultimately showed me, and that was a very pivoting point in my life of going, okay, this is one of the first times I'm having serious repercussions for my actions, because if I fuck off in here, I'm going to come back. It's not like you just go through the boot camp and you can be a dickhead and you're going to be good. No. If you fucked around, like a lot of these kids that I was there did, you come back. You don't get to graduate, they called it, the boot camp. You get to come back. And when you come back, you got to wear that weighted vest like that one kid did. Face more repercussions for being a dickhead, not learning how to control your emotions, sitting there, taking in what they're telling you, do what they're telling you, and just shut up. That was the whole point of this boot camp. Not mouthing off, not arguing back. You have to do what you are told, or else you are going to really be in physical pain. And when I finally graduated that boot camp after, several days, and I came back home, I don't know, I was still pissed off at my PO for sending me there. But looking back on a grand scheme timeline, way far down the line, like as we are now, 5 years ago, I'm like, you know what? That really showed me, that taught me a really good lesson about life. That taught me a lesson to, again, understand in the moment how I'm feeling and say, okay, right now, this person said something and I'm angry. This person's making me do something and I'm angry. But I'm not going to act on that. I can feel it. I'm aware that I'm feeling this way. Okay, this person did this. I feel like this. But I'm not going to portray that verbally or physically, right? So if your parents tell you to go do a chore and you were just about to go do it, and then that like made you upset or whatever, your parents said anything, and that makes you upset, that doesn't mean you just yell right back. That doesn't mean you just snap on it. You have to sit there and observe, how you're feeling. And I'll give you a prime example. Me and my dad used to get into it a lot. We used to argue a lot. He'd come in and say, hey man, why are there dishes and thing, blah, blah, blah. And he'd kind of get a little upset because, I was not doing something that he told me to do. And then I would get upset back because as soon as I got yelled at, I wanted to yell back because I was like, oh, you want to yell? I can yell too. Again, being a little dickhead, not understanding that, whatever. And as I started to get older, I started to want to change. I started to understand that I don't like having to yell because yelling always leads you to remorse afterwards. You argue, you say something out of spite, out of anger. It ticks you off, and then hours later or days later, you find yourself apologizing to that person. And I hated doing that. I said, why do I keep apologizing to people and then doing it again? Like, what the fuck is going on? So then I started to be very conscious of it because I said, okay, me and my dad argue all the time. Next time he gets snappy at something, let me, in the moment, calm down and calm him down. So I remember distinctly one time, I left my charger outside, my phone charger. Dad, if you're watching this, I still have that charger and it still works. I left the charger outside. He comes in with it and says, man, why are you leaving this charger outside? Like, you're going to fucking ruin it, this and that, blah, blah. And he's getting upset. And usually I would get upset with him and say, it's my charger. Like, why the fuck you even care? Like, it's my charger, blah, blah, blah. I said, why are you getting all upset? Like, what are you getting upset for? He's like, dude, you're leaving the charger outside. It's going to get rained on, this and that. I was like, okay, but it's my charger. I was trying to like say what it is. Like, hey, it's my charger. It's okay. Maybe I wasn't done outside. And he was still getting upset. So then I was like, hey, like, why are you yelling? Like, let's just calm down. Like, why are we getting all upset? Like, you can just talk to me normally. I was like, it's my charger. I wasn't done outside. You just thought I was done. You thought I was going to leave it out there. It was going to get rained on, and you're blowing up. And he's like, you know what? You're right. He calmed down immediately. He calmed down. He was like, you know what? You're right. He's like, I didn't know. I thought, maybe it was my charger. You're leaving it out in the rain. Like, it was supposed to rain. But he calmed down. Now, that small little example, some of you guys might look past that, but I look at that and go, okay, there's been multiple times since then, whether it's with my sister, whether it's with a girl, whether it's with my dad again, where they start to get upset at something because they're not they haven't maybe harnessed their emotions that well. And I calm them down in real time. Hey, why are we yelling? Are you like, maybe a girl, right? You're upset. Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, why are you like, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it. I know you feel a certain way, but tell me how you feel. Don't yell at me. Don't get an attitude. I'm going to talk to you. You talk to me. We'll come to a discussion, right? That is what emotionally intelligent is being, right? Being able to say, okay, I feel a certain way, or I acknowledge that you feel a certain way. It's all about being self-aware, okay? Acknowledging how you feel, being aware of how you feel, and not acting on that, okay? Because ever since that day, you know, I don't argue with people. I don't feel the need to say something in the moment because I know that anger is where you do and say things that you don't mean, okay? There's a reason why a man who cannot control his emotions is a very strange man, a very scary man. You never know his next move. You never know what he's going to do. You say the wrong thing, he can lash out like that. This is why we have school shooters. This is why we have people who kill people and you know, just do heinous crimes. It's a man, more often than not being able to control his emotions, and he acts on it. And I want to finish this video off with explaining why it is never the right thing to do to argue with people, and why I am such a non-confrontational person. Yes, I lift weights. Yes, I'm strong. Yes, I know how to fight. But that doesn't mean anything. If anything, the more I learn how to do that, and the more I learn how to control my emotions and be stoic, but also defend myself, the less I even want to ever get into a confrontation with somebody. And, you know, a lot of you guys probably haven't had something like this happen, but I've heard of it happening to people close to me. And I make sure this will never happen to me. Because a lot of times when we get into arguments with somebody, like I alluded to at the beginning of this video, you'll say something, I hate you, fuck you, you're this, you're that, I never want to see you. You know, we've all said things like that to people before. I know I have when I was younger. And then you regret it. And you're like, you know what? Fuck, like I didn't mean that in the slightest. Let me call them. Let me go upstairs and talk to them. Let me text them. Let me apologize. And you apologize. And then you end up doing it again, right? You say, oh, I'm sorry. They accept your apology. You know, we need to calm down next time, this and that. But then history repeats itself. You never actually become aware of this. But if you keep doing that, my friend, let me tell you right now, there will come a day where you do get into that argument and you do say things that you don't mean. Maybe that person says things they don't mean. Who knows? But you say things that hurt their feelings, and you know it did. And time passes, maybe a couple hours, maybe a day goes by, and you say, hey, I want to text this person. I want to call him. I want to go see him, apologize, because I'm feeling remorseful now. I regret what I said. And you're calling them, and they're not picking up the phone. And you're texting them, and the message is delivering, but they're not reading it. And it's hours of passing now. You finally get a call, and you realize they're fucking dead. Maybe they drove home after that argument, and they got in a car accident. They were freaking out. Maybe they were crying. Their vision was blurry. They didn't see the red light, but they're dead. They're dead. You never get to apologize, man. I know people in my personal life who have to deal with the regret of saying something rude to somebody because they couldn't fucking control their emotions, and now they have to live with the fact that they told somebody they hate them, or called them a name, or said, I never want to see you again. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine getting in an argument with somebody that you love, saying, I fucking hate you, I never want to see you again, and then that happens. They die. You never see them again. Something that you said in the moment, why you said it, I don't know. I do know. It's because you couldn't control your emotions. But why you felt the need to say that, I don't know. And then it becomes reality. You said, I never want to see you again. You're this, you're that. I always thought this about you. And now you have to live with that regret, man. And I'll never be the one to live with that regret. And that is ultimately one of the reasons why I will never say rude things to somebody. You could get me so upset. You could crack my windshield, key my car, fucking hurt me, whatever. I will never be the one to stoop down and say rude words to somebody or act physically on somebody, but especially words. Because a lot of people don't understand that that's a real thing that can happen, because you always get an easy way out. You always get that cop out, that fucking apology. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you go and do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. I haven't said sorry. I haven't apologized for something that I've said to somebody in years. Not because I'm a dickhead, not because I have no fucking empathy for people, but because I haven't had the need to apologize, because I haven't said anything that hurts somebody's feelings that makes me want to apologize. I'm very conscious of that. In the moment, every time somebody gets an attitude, or they yell, or they snap, or they say something that maybe triggers me, I'm aware of it in the moment. I'm saying, okay, 10 seconds ago, I did not feel like this. This person said that, or they did that. Now I feel like this. Why? Okay, it is because of them. Okay, let me not act on this. Let me not act. It's a conscious effort. And if some of you guys sit there and go, Jason, yeah, but how do you do that? How do you become aware of that? How do you become self-aware? How do you become conscious? That, my friend, is on you. I cannot help you become a conscious being. That is on you. This video is for people who can understand what I'm saying and already apply it into their life, okay? Being emotionally intelligent is one of the most important things you can do in this realm because it can lead to so many destructive things. You could have everything in your life. You could have the money, the girl, the car, the house. You could have it all. All it takes is one instance for you to act on your emotions and not be able to control them. And now you're in prison for the rest of your life. Now you're dead. Now you're in the morgue because you said something to somebody, it ticked them off, a gun got pulled, knife got pulled. The rest is history, okay? So it doesn't really matter what you do in this life. If you don't have your emotions harnessed and mastered and have a good understanding of your emotions and what makes you feel certain ways and how to act on certain emotions and how to not act on them, especially, you're not going to get very far in life. You know, so being emotionally intelligent and having emotional maturity is one of the first things I would advise anybody to really start learning in when it comes to self-improvement or leveling up. Yes, getting your body in shape is good. Leveling up, you know, financially, getting your confidence up. These are all things that will benefit you greatly and you need them. But that all goes out the window if you don't have emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, okay? So you need to practice this. Start being conscious. Start being aware of what makes you feel certain ways and start understanding how you can go about those said emotions to then let them dissipate and not act on them, okay?